Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. I'm going to do our Week 5 college football best bets. We're going to go over all of our top 25 games, and we're going to try to predict the outcome, the winner, the loser, but we'll mainly be focusing on the final scores and the best bets, the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. First things first, though, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments, by all means, drop them below. Do you agree? Disagree? What are your thoughts on these games? Who do you think is going to win these matchups? Make sure to leave that thought down in the comment. I will respond to every single comment. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, make sure to check out that pinned comment down below. Click on that link. You can sign up there, and I would definitely appreciate it. We go over every game every week this entire season, so make sure to like and subscribe. But let's not waste any more time. We have some really good top 25 matchups. I will say, this is probably the best top-to-bottom slate of top 25 versus top 25 games we have so far up to this point of the season. There's some really good matchups. Let's start breaking them down. We actually have two top 25 games kicking off this coming Friday. The very first one we're going to have Florida State kicking off the week versus Virginia. Friday night, September 26, ESPN, 7 p.m., number 8 Florida State 3-0 versus the 3-1 Virginia Cavaliers. I will say this, do not underestimate the Cavaliers here. Cavaliers, very potent offense. They can score a lot of points here, but Florida State, they actually have the number one offense in all of college football currently. Florida State heavy fan favorites, a 60.4% chance to win. Virginia, a 39.6% chance. The Cavaliers are the Vegas underdogs. Florida State, 7.5-point favorites. The over-under is 60.5. The big news around this game, Castellanos says he will be playing. Props to Mike Norvell. They won 2 games last season. They have already surpassed that. 3-0, coming from out of the top 25 all the way up to number 8. They have Miami next week. That could potentially be a top 5 versus top 5 game. Florida State is rolling here. It's been a while since we've seen them play a good team here. Virginia, do not underestimate this team. They can score some points. Florida State with the run game, the number 1 rush offense. Props to Mike Norvell. Props to Gus Malzahn, calling great plays so far. Florida State, they're doing a little bit of everything this season. Running the ball, throwing the ball, putting up solid numbers overall. Seminoles are averaging 58 points a game, throwing for 266, running for 363, only giving up 10. The Cavs, 45.5 points a game, throwing for 313, running for 251. They are consistently moving the ball. They're going to have Chandler Morris at the quarterback position, chucking the ball up and down the field. High-rated pass offense, Thomas Castellanos, Danzy, Robinson, so many weapons on Florida State. The game might be closer than some think, but I think Florida State ultimately pulls away. They win this one 38-28. So I'll go with Florida State covering the spread, and I'm going to go with the over. And how about this next game on Friday night on Fox at 9 p.m., number 24. Welcome to the top 25, the TCU Horned Frogs. Sonny Dykes here, the head coach, one of the best offensive minds in college football. They are 3-0. This team, they are chucking the ball up and down the field, but they're also running the ball this season, playing solid defense. They'll be on the road versus the 3-1 Arizona State Sun Devils. Outside of that awful game they had versus Mississippi State, Sam Levitt, he was coming into the season with a lot of Heisman hype. They lost Cam Scatterbo from last season. He was like 55% of this team's overall offense, but they have gotten back to running the ball, playing much better right now. You still have to remember this team. They were favored by a lot of people to win the Big 12. They got kicked out of the top 25, but at some point you know they're going to get back in it. And practically a 50-50 split with the fan vote. Arizona State, 49.4% chance. The Horned Frogs, 50.6%, right down the middle, pretty much a pick 'em. Sun Devils, 3.5-point favorites, 54.5 over-under. This TCU offense, this is going to be a quarterback versus quarterback battle. You have Sam Levitt versus Josh Hoover. Both these guys playing good football. Sam Levitt, more of a dual-threat quarterback, but he wants to beat with his arms. Hoover, running the air raid, they're just going to straight up throw up and down the field. TCU, 41.7 points a game. Throwing for 341, running for 175, giving up 19.7. Arizona State, 28.9 points a game, throwing for 187, running for 219, giving up 20.5. Arizona State, they have not gotten away from the run game. That's what got them to the playoffs last season. Levitt, Brown, almost 400 yards on the ground, but what about McAllister for TCU? 25 yards per reception, almost 350 yards so far. He's the primary go-to guy on the road here. I think this game is pretty much a pick. I'm flip a coin. That's who's going to win it. But ultimately, I'm going to decide on a very close game. Could be a turnover late that decides it. The Horned Frogs win this one 34-30. And for this game, I'm going to go with the plus 3.5, and I'm going to go with the over. And on Fox at 12 p.m., number 21, the USC Trojans 4-0. How about this Trojans offense? One of the best all-around offenses in college football. Lincoln Riley, I say it all the time, in my personal opinion, the best offensive mind there is in the sport right now. They'll be on the road versus number 23, the Fighting Illini 3-1. Brett Bielema's team, you know they're usually physical, but they're coming off of getting completely curb stomped last week. What was that final score? 63-10. It was atrocious. They were top 10. Now they're almost on the verge of getting kicked out of the top 25. They have to rebound here. How do they respond after that difficult loss? Can the Trojans continue that momentum right now? Scoring points. Year 2. Deanton Lynn, this defense is much improved, but I want to see that offense continue to roll. They're running the ball, throwing the ball. Trojans, 75.9% chance to win. The Fighting Illini, 24.1%. Trojans, 6.5-point favorites, a 60.5 over-under. When you're looking at the overall stats here, you have the Trojans coming in 52.5 points a game, a top 5 offense in the nation, throwing for 332, running for 252, only giving up 20.3 points per game. They want to beat you through the air. They want to beat you on the ground. They have 2 running backs that are just running down people's throat. Jordan almost 450 yards on the ground. Sanders 250 yards on the ground. Great 1-2 running back combos. One of the deepest wide receiver cores in the nation. Lane, Lemon, Mayava, the growth he's had from last season, got to give this guy props. But you also have Luke Altmaier on the other side. Year 3 in the Illinois system, experience, veteran quarterback. They have something to prove coming off of that atrocious performance they had last week. They're averaging 36.3. Throwing for 220, running for 124, giving up 21.3 points per game. This is a game potentially where the Trojans could get upset in the Fighting Illini. I might be able to pull off a competitive win, but ultimately I'm going to go with USC continuing to roll. They win this one 35-27. For this one, Trojans cover the spread, and again, we'll go with the over. Then at 12 p.m. on ESPN, number 16, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Not a team that anyone wants to play right now, and they've actually probably made it through the rougher stretch of their football schedule. It should be easy sailing right now. That's a tough thing to say. They still have Georgia at the very end, but this team is rolling. It's what they do on the ground and pound, sucking up the clock, controlling time of possession. When you keep the other team's offense off the field, you have a really good shot to win this. They'll be on the road versus the 2-1 Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Wake Forest 16.1% chance to win. Georgia Tech 83.9. The Yellow Jackets 13.5-point favorites, 50.5 over/under. Georgia Tech, they're averaging 38.8 points a game, throwing for 243, running for 249, very balanced on offense, and it's what they can do at the skill positions. They have Haynes King, one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. He will ground the pound. He'll run 20 to 25 times every single game, and they are very physical runs. They have Jamal Haynes, almost 300 yards rushing. Canyon. Wake Forest, so much is resting on Affer's shoulders. 1 touchdown, 3 picks, very turnover prone. You have to be capable of getting into a shootout here with Georgia Tech. Right now, Wake Forest, 25.3 points a game, throwing for 246, running for 154, giving up 17.7. The defense isn't playing bad, but Georgia Tech just too many weapons. They'll be able to bring that on the road with him. Georgia Tech wins this one 33-20. I'm still going to go slightly with that plus 13.5, and I'm going to go with the over. And on ABC at 12 p.m., number 22, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish 1-2. One of the most difficult starts of the schedule. They had 2 top 10 teams they had to play. They lost both those games. Very close losses, though. They finally got their first win of the season last week. Can they turn that into some momentum here for them to make the playoffs? And they even have any remote shot to make the playoffs. They have to win every single game from this point out. They have to at least finish the season 10-0 to have a competitive shot to get in the final 12. They'll be on the road here, on the road in the SEC environment. The 2-2 Arkansas Razorback Sam Pittman squad, no matter what their final record is, every single loss they'll have will always be a 1-possession loss. 6-7 points. They're within every single game. Very competitive team. Do not underestimate Arkansas, especially on the road, or you will lose this one. The Razorbacks, 43.5% chance to win. The Irish, 56.5. Notre Dame, 4.5-point favorite. 64.5 over/under. The Irish, they're scoring a buttload of points this season, but actually one of the worst offenses in the nation. A massive, drastic change from last year where they finished with the number 3 defense in the entire country. They're definitely not there right now. They are averaging 40 points a game, throwing for 265, running for 161, but they're giving up 32.7 points a game, almost 290 through the air. They were supposed to have one of the best, if not the best, secondary in the country. Great defensive front seven. Both of those things have been lacking right now, but the offense has really stepped up. CJ Carr, first season as the full-time starter. Love, Pierce, Greathouse, Faison. There's weapons all over this offense. They can score with anyone, but the Razorbacks offense is actually really good. Taylor Green, 1,200 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 4 picks. He also has almost 400 yards on the ground with 2 rushing touchdowns. You got to take this offense serious. 43.5 points a game. Throwing for 324, running for 228, giving up 23.5. The Arkansas Razorbacks offense, they can actually pull off the upset here. If they do, Notre Dame would drop to 1-3. They would definitely be out of the playoffs. They'd be out of the top 25. Marcus Freeman does not want that to happen. I need to see the Irish defense get things back on track. I do think Notre Dame will pull off the win. They'll pull away at the very end of the fourth quarter. They'll make it a 2-possession game. Notre Dame wins this one 37-28. I have them covering the spread, and I'm going to go with the over. And on the SEC Network at 12:45 p.m., the 3-1 Utah State Aggies, not a bad offense. They'll be on the road versus number 18, the Vanderbilt Commodores, 4-0. How about the Commodores, undefeated right now, actually looking like one of the better teams in the SEC. They have Diego Pavia back for practically his 15th year of college football. Would not be surprised if he's back again next season for some reason. This guy's been playing college football forever, but they are moving the ball. They're throwing, they're running, they're having a great year right now. Vanderbilt's coming into this game heavy favorites, 94.5% chance to win. Utah State, a 5.5% chance. Vandy, 22.5 point favorites, 59.5 over-under. You got to respect Vanderbilt, their offense, their defense. Utah State, they're averaging 36.8, throwing for 246, running for 181, giving up 24.3. Vandy, 47.5 points a game. Who would have thought one of the best all-around teams in college football so far through the first 4 weeks, throwing for 258, running for 224, giving up 12.8 points per game, only 69.8 on the ground, shutting down the run game, forcing opposing teams into third and longs. Vandy, to me, they just have way too many weapons. They pull off the win here, but they do have the SEC schedule coming up, so you got to get those starters out. You got to get them rested. You want that momentum. Vandy wins this one 37-23. I'm going to go with that plus 22.5, and I'm just ever so slightly going to go with the over. And this next match, but under the radar, very competitive game, 3:30 p.m. CBS. Number 1, the defending national champions, 3-0, the undefeated Ohio State Buckeyes. They have Hartline, they have Patricia, they have Ryan Day. Great coaching staff, great offense, great defense. Sayan really starting to come into his own, almost 800 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 3 picks. Jackson Smith, the best offensive player in the country, Jeremiah Smith, the best defensive player in the country, Caleb Downs. I want to see that ground game get going, and this could be a team that goes back-to-back national titles. They had the number 1 defense in the country last year. They have the number 1 defense right now. They're on the road versus the 3-0 undefeated Washington Huskies. Do not underestimate Jedd Fisch's team here. One of the best offenses in the nation, scoring a buttload of points. You got to take them serious. You're on the road at Washington. If you don't bring your A game here, this is a competitive Big Ten matchup. You will lose this one. Huskies 31.2% chance to win. The Buckeyes a 68.8. Ohio State 7.5 point favorites, 52.5 over under. The Buckeyes 40.3 points a game. Throwing for 283, running for 182, only giving up 5.3 points per game. You gotta love this Buckeyes defense. Washington, top 3 national offense, 55.7 points a game. Throwing for 276, running for 260, only giving up 13.3 points a game. Both these teams can play defense. Williams Jr. for Washington, almost 800 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, no picks. Coleman, almost 500 yards on the ground. Boston, 250 through the air. I think the Buckeyes win this one, but I think it's actually a very close game. Ohio State wins 31-17. I do think they'll cover that spread, but I'm going to go with the under. And at 3:30 p.m. on ABC, 2 top 15 SEC teams facing off versus one another. Number 4 LSU Tigers dropping 1 spot last week. They are undefeated 4-0. Their best win was versus Clemson. That no longer looks like too good of a win right now, but hey, nonetheless, they are undefeated, pulling off the dubs. They finally scored over 20 points for the first time last week. That's been the biggest knock on them. The offense was supposed to be leading the way this season. Veteran offense, Nussmeier back for another season, Heisman hopeful quarterback. The offense has been pretty putrid so far this season, but they finally opened it up this past week. But how about the defense? That's what's leading LSU here. Top 10 national defense, year 2 under Blake Baker. Brian Kelly, perfect hire. This defense is playing aggressive. They'll be on the road here versus number 13, the Ole Miss Rebels, 4-0. Ole Miss, they don't have the top 10 defense they had last season, but you know, this is a Lane Kiffin team. They're going to have a great offense every single season. It's just what they do. Simmons isn't going to be starting, going to be Shamlis getting his 3rd game here with the Rebels. Tigers have a 26.7% chance to win. The Rebels a 73.7%. Ole Miss, surprisingly, the lower ranked team, but the Vegas favorite, 1.5-point favorites, a 55.5 over/under. The Tigers finally having scored over 20. They're averaging 29 a game, throwing for 275, running for 117, giving up 9.3, only 64 on the ground. Great front seven. Will they be able to get consistent pressure on Chambliss? This is his third start with the Rebels here. If they can force him into third and long situations, they might get some pressure on him, force some potential turnovers, some disruptions. Ole Miss 44.8 points a game, throwing for 325, running for 219, only giving up 18.8 points per game. But will that Ole Miss offense be able to consistently move the ball against this LSU defense? Right now for LSU, they have Durham at the running back position. They have Anderson, very deep wide receiver core. I want to see Nussmeier really get that offense going, especially through the air. Attack Ole Miss. Come after them. Attack them defensively. Attack them vertically through the air. But Ole Miss, they want to run it. They want to throw it. Lacey almost 400 yards on the ground, whilst the third almost 350 yards through the air. And if Chambliss doesn't play well, you got Simmons sitting there. But Chambliss so far has been on point, has looked like the better quarterback of the two. I think the Rebels will be able to win a very close game, but that LSU defense, you got to respect them. Ole Miss wins this one 28-23. I do have them covering the spread, and I'm going to go with the under. Then on ESPN at 3:30 p.m., the Auburn Tigers 3-1 getting kicked out of the top 25 here. A lot of potential missed calls there that one game. Auburn, really good football so far this season. Jackson All not doing the best throwing the ball. He's not doing bad, but you know what he wants to do? He wants to run the ball. They want to be a dual threat team. They want to beat you through the air, beat you on the ground. They have Cobb, Jackson running. They have Coleman almost 200 yards receiving. They're going to be on the road here. College Station, one of the most difficult places to play in the country. Playing against the Texas A&M Aggies. Great offense, great defense. Hugh Freeze, great play caller, great offensive mind. They have a really good defense this season, and they want to beat you on the ground, but that's the Aggie specialty. This is a Mike Elko team. They're disciplined. They're built at the line of scrimmage, offensive line, defensive line. They want to run it down your throat. They want to control the time of possession, but so does Auburn. I want to see Auburn use that really good wide receiver core just a little bit more. Right now, the Tigers, they're the underdogs. The Aggies, 6.5-point favorites, 52.5 over-under. They have a 68.4% chance to win. The Tigers, a 31.6% chance to win. Auburn, they're averaging 32 points a game, throwing for 185, running for 198, only giving up 16.5 points a game. Top 3 rush defense, only giving up 58.3 on the ground. And you know the Aggies want to run the ball. They're averaging 42.3, throwing for 323, running for 157, only giving up 28.7 points a game. I don't want to say only giving up. That is awful so far. They actually had a really good defense last season. The defense has not showed up this year. Will Auburn be able to attack them on the ground through the air, keep this score close? The Aggies at home, they have to have a slight edge here, but you have to respect this Auburn team who almost beat a really, really good top 10, top 20 defense from Oklahoma last week. You have Moss running for almost 170 for the Aggies. Marcel Reed doing a little bit of everything, almost 900 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, and he could beat you with his legs on the ground. I do think the Aggies walk away with the win. They win this one 31-27. Very close game. Going with the plus 6.5, and I'm going to go with the over. And on Peacock at 3:30, number 11, the Hoosiers working their way back up the top 25. This is a team that made the playoffs last season. The team they have this year might be even better than the one they had last year. They are 4-0 undefeated, coming off of a 63-10 butt whooping of a top 10 team last week. They're rolling on offense, rolling on defense. This is the Fighting Cignettis. All Curt Cignetti does is win. He loves to let you know that. They'll be on the road versus the 3-1 Iowa Hawkeyes. Kirk Ferentz squad here, one of the longest tenured coaches in the country. My biggest knock on Ferentz, yes, they have a top 10 defense every season, top 10 in special teams. They can run the ball. They are physical. They are disciplined, but their offense is atrocious. One of the worst offenses you will ever see in your entire life, every single season. If they just had an average offense, this could be a potential team to compete for national titles. Right now, Iowa, a 21.6% chance to win. Indiana, 78.4% chance to win. The Hoosiers are 7.5-point favorites. The over-under is 48.5. For the Fighting Cignettis, Mendoza, what do you have, 5 or 6 touchdowns last week? He has 14 passing touchdowns, no picks so far. Black over 300 yards on the ground. Cooper almost 400 yards through the air. The Hawkeyes here, Gronowski has not worked out. This team cannot throw the ball. Iowa can never throw the ball. They're not bad running, but in order to compete with some of these teams, you just can't run nonstop. You can't. It's like watching paint dry. It's a painful thing to watch. No matter what the over-under is for a lot of Iowa games, they usually ultimately go with the under. They're averaging 33 points a game, throwing for 137.8. How's that even possible? Running for 200.5. But again, a very, very good defensive team, only giving up, 14.5? And Indiana, a top 5 overall offense, 54.8 points a game, very balanced, 280 through the air, 309 on the ground, only giving up 8.3 points a game. They are rolling right now. Yes, they're on the road. I do think Iowa keeps this game very close. Their defense might even get a couple turnovers here. But without their offense and with Indiana also having a pretty solid defense, I think the Hoosiers will be able to muscle out the victory. They win it 24-13. I have them covering the spread, but I'm going to go with the under. And another really good team, the SEC Network, 4:15 p.m. The number 15 Tennessee Volunteers. The last 2 weeks, they split it. They lost one, won one. They have not moved off that 15 spot. But this is Josh Heupel's team, one of the best offensive minds in college football. What I really like about him is no matter what his personal play calling is, whatever the skill set is on his team, he will adapt his play calling to that skill set. That's why he always gets the most out of his playmakers. I was anti-Nico all of last season. They finally got rid of him. It is what it is. They did get rid of him. They brought in Joey Aguilar. They have hit the ground running this offense much better than it was last season, but they actually had a top 10 defense last year. They don't have a top 10 defense this season. They're giving up a lot of points. That defense has to get things on track. They're on the road here versus a surprising 4-0 undefeated Mississippi State. Props to Jeff Lebby. He's had to flip this roster twice. They're actually playing pretty decent defense, and the offense, of course, is scoring a buttload of points. Mississippi State, 26.3% chance to win. The Volunteers, a 73.7% chance to win. Tennessee, 7.5-point favorites, 63.5 over-under. Joey Aguilar closing in on 1,200 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 3 picks. They have Thomas, Brazel the second. This is a very big wide receiver core. By big, I mean size. 6'2", 6'3 guys up and down. The whole wide receiver core is massive. You have to have a very good secondary to beat this team, and you got to get pressure on Joey Aguilar, but he can't get flushed out of the pocket. He can scramble for first downs. Mississippi State shaping the veteran here. 7 touchdowns, 2 picks. This team is also beating other teams multiple ways. Mississippi State, 39.8 points a game, throwing for 237, running for 207, and like I said, actually playing pretty decent defense so far this season, only giving up 11.8, but the schedule's only now going to start getting tougher. They are in the SEC schedule now. Tennessee, top 10 offense, 53.5 points a game, throwing for 338, running for 216, and they scored a buttload of points on Georgia. They can score on anyone. It's just you might also be able to score on them. They are giving up 27.8 points a game. That's just awful. I do have Tennessee winning this one, but it might be close up to the late third, early fourth. They win it 34-20. I have them covering the spread, but I'm going to go with the under, surprisingly. And for this next game, both these teams coming off of bye weeks, they're both fully rested. 7 p.m. on ESPN, the 3-0 Arizona State Wildcats. They have Fafita back at quarterback. The guy's been a starter there. This is 3rd or 4th season starting. Pretty good offense so far. This team has rebounded. They had an awful year last year. They lost McMillan, first-round pick to the draft. But they're rebounding, scoring points, running the ball, throwing the ball on the road versus the number 14, the Iowa State Cyclones. This is Matt Campbell's team. You know what he does. Great defense, physical team at the line of scrimmage. They run the ball. They have a veteran, experienced quarterback. Rocco Beck, 3rd year in this system. He knows how to play, knows how to beat teams, but this game potentially has upset alert to me written all over it. Iowa State, 61.3% chance to win. Arizona, a 38.7. The Cyclones, 6.5-point favorites, 49.5 over-under. Looking at the playmakers for Iowa State, they have Hansen. They have Becht. On the other side, Fafita, Motti, Watley. They have some weapons, but will they be able to out-physical Iowa State at the line of scrimmage? Iowa State, they won 10 games last season. They're looking to do that again this year, but they want the playoffs this season. They just barely missed out last year. For the team stats, Arizona, 37 points a game, throwing for 248, running for 189, only giving up 8.7 points a game. Where did this Arizona defense come? And for Iowa State, 29.8 points a game. Some people do think they are overrated. Throwing for 222, running for 161. On the defense, they're giving up 17.3 points per game. This is a team fully rested with the veteran quarterback. I got to go with the Cyclones pulling off the W here. They win this one 33-27. I think this game gives them a scare. It might even border on the potential upset, but give me Iowa State winning it. I'll go with the +6.5, and I'm going to go with the over. And even though we have a lot of great games this weekend, this is easily, in my personal opinion, the game of the weekend because it's two top 6 teams facing off. Whoever wins this game could be number 3, number 2, maybe even number 1 comes next week, top 25, 7:30 p.m. on NBC. Number 6, Oregon Ducks, 4-0 undefeated, one of the best overall rosters in college football, facing the veteran-laden, the extremely uber-experienced number 3, the 3-0, the undefeated Penn State Nittany Lions. How about a whiteout game at Penn State? It is going to be rabid. It is going to be crazy. These fans, this is going to be an electrifying atmosphere. Very hard for Oregon to go on the road and win here. Don't forget, Dante Moore, first-year starter here. How does he perform? This is easily the toughest game he's ever been in, the toughest atmosphere he's ever seen in his entire life. Can he live up to the big stage? And can Drew Waller for Penn State? He's the veteran. 3rd or 4th season as a starter here. Some people had him as a first-round pick. Been kind of disappointing so far to start the season. But if he beats Oregon, if they win this game, you could put all that behind him. None of it will matter. This is a Penn State team that has national championship aspirations. There's veterans all over this team. If it's not this season, when is it? Franklin wants this game bad. Penn State, 51.1% chance to win. Oregon, 48.9%. Practically a 50-50 split with the fans. The Nittany Lions, 3.5-point favorites, 51.5 over-under for Oregon. Dante Moore, first season starting, 11 touchdowns, 1 pick, 1,000 yards passing. He has Limar. He has Moore there. And Dante Moore can also beat you with his legs on the ground. He's not a running quarterback, but he can get mobile if you flush him out of the pocket. If you leave room for him to run, he definitely will take off. And for Penn State, Drew Waller, as a senior, as a veteran here, not the best number, 626 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. I need to see some more from him. This is probably the best wide receiver core Penn State has had in some time. Push the ball vertically down the field. Get a little more aggressive. This is the game here because both these teams can go blow for blow. And one of the best, if not the best, running back 1-2 combo in the nation. Allen, Singleton, and this is an elite defense from both these teams. The Ducks, 50.8 points per game, throwing for 269, running for 255, only giving up 9.3 points a game. Penn State, 44 points a game, throwing for 243, running for 194, giving up 5.7 points a game. That's the number 2 defense in the country. They had a top 5 defense last year. They brought over Knowles from Ohio State, probably the best defensive mind in all of college football. They're going to be aggressive. This is a very difficult game to call here. Do you trust James Franklin's team? Do you trust Dan Lanning's team? Both these teams are talented. Both these teams, in my opinion, are both destined for the playoffs, but who's going to cement themselves as that number 2 team against the Ohio State Buckeyes to potentially win the Big Ten? Doesn't matter really, because I do think they will all make the playoffs, but this is about bragging rights. This is about momentum to carry you through the second half of the season. It's a 50-50 game. I'm personally not going to go anywhere near this one because, again, you can make a very strong case for either team to get the win. It could be a turnover, could be a fumble, could be something that happens late fourth quarter that makes a difference. Could be a missed kick. Give me the Ducks to win this one on the road, 26-23. I'm going with that plus 3.5, and I'm going with the under. Just barely. This could even turn into a high-scoring game, but give me the under. And this is the SEC game of the weekend, the second best game, but practically very close to being the best game. ABC, 7:30 p.m., number 17. The Alabama Crimson Tide, 2-1. Kalen DeBoer here. You already lost week 1 versus Florida State. You cannot afford to lose this one. This is opening up the SEC schedule. If you drop down to 2-2, you might even get kicked out of the top 25. In my personal college football watching life, I have never seen Alabama not be ranked in the top 25. That would be a crazy thing to see, but it could possibly happen here. Bama, they need to win this one. If they're 2-2, if they lose any more games this season, they'd be out of playoff contention. It's not going to happen. A 9-3 team, just like last year, you're not going to make the playoffs. It is what it is. Georgia, they love to win this game. It's been a while since they beat Bama. Yes, Kirby Smart's done it before, but they've lost, 9 of their last 10 versus Alabama. Kirby Smart, they want this win. Bobo, though, I've been very critical of Mike Bobo. I don't like his offense. You got to run the ball, but Alabama, they've gotten completely away from the running game this season. Got to get back to it. To win these close games in the second half, you have to be able to line up, run it downhill, control the clock. But what about Ty Simpson playing really good since week 1? Right now, Alabama here on the road, 45.2% chance to win. Georgia, 54.8%. The Bulldogs, 3.5-point favorites, 52.5 over-under. This Bama team, they're averaging 42.7 a game, throwing for 336, only running for 124. I got to get that number up to about 180, and they're giving up 15 points a game. Georgia, 39 points a game, throwing for 261, running for 209, and their defense, not as good as a typical Georgia defense, but they're only giving up 18, so they still have a top 20 national defense. Looking at the overall team, like I said, Ty Simpson, he's really improved since week one. He has Riley, he has Bernard, he has Williams, one of the best young wide receivers in the nation. Georgia, Stockton's a dual threat quarterback. He can throw it, he can run it. He's not Carson Beck passing, but it's what he can do with his legs. We know that Alabama hates those dual threat quarterbacks. They have Frazier, they have Zachariah Branch, they have a pretty deep wide receiver core, a revamped wide receiver core. Get the ball to your playmakers, feed the ball to Branch. I think Georgia's going to win a very close game. They finally get the W versus Alabama. This might even catapult them ahead of LSU for the top team in the SEC. They win this one 30-28, going with the plus 3.5. I'm going with the over. It's going to be a very fun game, though. 7:30 p.m. on ESPNU, the 0-3 Massachusetts Minutemen. This team has not been good since 1776. They'll be on the road versus number 20, the 4-0, the undefeated Missouri Tigers. Props to Drinkowitz. What he gets out of the team, he gets the most out of a bunch of three-star players. He knows how to coach. He knows how to get the most out of the talent. They play collectively as a team. They lost Cook. They lost Burden, first-round wide receiver. They replaced him. Perbula, 1,000 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. This offense continues to roll. They're playing good defense. Hardy, 600 yards on the ground through the first 4 games. How about this team? And UMass, let's call it like it is. They just honestly really don't do much of anything. Looking at the overall stats here, Missouri, 99% chance to win. UMass, 1% chance. The Tigers, 43.5-point favorites, 56.5 over-under. The Minutemen, they're coming in here 14.3 points a game, giving up 38.7. There's really not much to say there. They don't score. They give up a buttload of points. Missouri, just for personal pride, they want to make sure they cover that spread. They're averaging 46, throwing for 256, running for 298, only giving up 16.8 points a game. I think they're going to cover the spread here just to make sure they do it. They win this one 51-7. They cover the spread. I'll go with the over. And our final game of the week at 10:15 p.m. on ESPN, a Big 12 versus Big 12 matchup. Welcome to the top 25, number 25, the BYU Cougars 3-0. They lost Retzlaff right before the season started, but it really doesn't look like they need him. They completely replaced him. Bachmeier picking up right where he left off, throwing the ball, running the ball. On the road here versus the 2-2 Colorado Buffaloes. Deion Sanders would love to win this game. They've been shuffling quarterbacks. Salter, Lewis, really doesn't matter who they've rolled out. Not the best offense so far. They lost Shedeur Sanders from last year. Travis Hunter having to replace a lot of pieces here. A lot of first-year starters on this team, so it's a little bit of a building block season. Right now, Colorado, 22.7% chance to win. BYU, a 77.3%. BYU beat Colorado last year, but both teams, they have new quarterbacks this season. BYU, 6.5-point favorites, 48.5 over-under. Bachmeier, like I said, almost 600 yards passing. Roberts, almost 200 yards receiving. Martin, almost 350 yards on the ground. That's where BYU wants to beat you, is on the ground and pound. They're averaging 43.3 points a game, throwing for 186. It's the rushing game, running for 266 yards per game, only giving up 5.3 points a game, only 44.3 yards on the ground. Colorado, they still haven't successfully learned how to rush the ball since Deion Sanders took over. They got to get that run game going. They have to find some type of balance. They're averaging 27 a game, throwing for 334, running for 141, giving up 22.5. The defense is actually not playing that bad. They might be able to keep this game close because BYU doesn't have a high-powered offense, but it's the ground and pound and how it wears you out over the course of 4 total quarters, and they probably have more depth than Colorado does. I think the Cougars win this one 28-20. They cover the spread, and I'm going to go just ever so slightly with the under. Guys, that's all of our Week 5 college football best bets. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments, by all means, drop them below. Do you agree? Disagree? What are your thoughts on these games? Let me know down in the comment section who's going to win them. And if you want to sign up for one of our member teams, check out that pinned comment below. Click on that link. You can sign up there. I would appreciate it. Of course, as always, thank you for watching.